Ali was assassinated by a Khawariji assassin in 661 AD. With Ali's death ended the first fitna of the Islamic history. Muawiya ibn Abu Sufiyan became caliph almost by default. It seemed unbelievable that a son of Abu Sufiyan, the worst enemy of the Prophet, become the ruler of the empire of the Muslims. This clan, now known as Umayyads, would rule the empire for 90 years. Muawiyah's main challenge was re-establishing the unity of the Muslim community and asserting his authority in the provinces amid the political and social disintegration of the First Fitnah. He was the supreme exemplar of the traditional Arabic virtue of hilm. It signifies subtlety and cunning in the management of men and affairs. Muawiyah convinced Hassan, the son of Ali, to abdicate in his favor in exchange for a high pension. He preferred negotiation and compromise instead of using force. He would reach agreements with local governors and tribal elites and exercise patronage, very often buying loyalty with money. Following decentralized approach, Muawiyah entrusted the administration of Kufa and Basra to highly experienced member of the Thaqif tribe, al-Mughira. After al-Mughira's death in 670, Muawiyah appointed his adopted half-brother Ziyad ibn Abi Sufyan and made him practical viceroy over the eastern part of the caliphate. Ziyad launched a concerted campaign to firmly establish Arab rule in the vast Khorasan region east of Iran and restart the Muslim conquests in the surrounding areas. The Muslim rule was extended to the Oxus River, now known as Amu Daraya. Khorasan was established as an Umayyad province. The Muslim conquest of Ifriqiya, that is Central North Africa, was launched in 670, which extended Umayyad control as far as Tripolitania. Here the permanent Arab garrison city of Kirwan was established. This city was to become the base for further expansion during the Umayyad period. Much of the success of Muawiyah's long and largely peaceful reign was that he negotiated and made agreements with local elites in Iraq and Egypt while he largely confined his activities to Syria. In an unprecedented move in Islamic politics, Muawiyah nominated his own son, Yazid I, as his successor in 676, introducing hereditary rule to succession and, in practice, turning the office of the caliph into a kingship. Full of years, Muawiyah died in 680 after 20 years of stable rule. There was widespread hostility to this formalization of the dynastic rule among many Muslims, including disaffected sections of Quraysh and even some of the Umayyad family itself. The disaffected elements found two rallying points. The first was Hussein, son of Ali and Fatima. The second was Abdullah bin Zubair. He was the son of that same al-Zubair who revolted against Ali together with Talha and Aisha and was killed in the Battle of the Camel. After Muawiyah's death, Yazid made attempts to secure recognition from these men. But both of them eluded Umayyad governor of Medina and fled to Mecca. Kufa was the city that had traditionally been Ali's supporter. The messengers from Kufa invited Hussein to their city. He sent his cousin Muslim bin Aqil there to measure the level of support. Aqil reported back that he had gathered thousands of pledges of support. The news of rumblings in Kufa reached Yazid. He sent governor of Basra, Ubaydullah bin Ziyad, to Kufa, where he terrorized anyone who might back a bid by Hussein for caliphate. Muslim bin Aqil was captured and executed. There is tragic inevitability about the events that followed. Hussein was warned of dangers. But he set out on a long journey across Arabia accompanied by a small party of 50-odd men, together with women and children. Shortly before they reached the Euphrates, Hussein's party encamped at a place called Karbala. 4,000 men confronted them under the orders of Umar bin Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas, who had been sent by Ubaydullah. On the 10th of the Muslim month of Muharram, corresponding to the 10th of October 680, One by one Hussein and his followers were slaughtered. A soldier decapitated him, and his head was first taken to Kufa, then to Yazid in Damascus. The event has attained a mythic quality in Muslim tradition. For the Shias, Karbala is the supreme example of the pattern of suffering and martyrdom which has afflicted their imams and whole of the Shia community. Each year the day of Karbala, 10 Muharram, is marked by Shias as the greatest festival Ashura. The Passion plays and flagellants processions which accompany it illustrate the feeling with which memory of the event inspires. It demonstrates that it is virtually impossible to disentangle history from the legend and hagiography. The other figure of concern to Umayyads was Abdullah ibn Zubayr. He was in contact with two opposition groups. One was the revolt of the people of Medina who had publicly withdrawn their allegiance to Yazid. Another opposition movement involved Kharijites from both Basra and parts of Arabia. In 683 Yazid raised an army to crush both the Medinese opposition and Abdullah. The commander was a Syrian Arab called Muslim bin Uqba al-Murri. This army defeated the Medinese at the Battle of Harra in the summer of 683. It was alleged that the town was plundered and oath of allegiance to Yazid was exacted from the Medinese. This sack of the town of the Prophet is one of the major crimes charged against the Umayyads in tradition. The army continued to Mecca, but Muslim bin Uqba died and command was taken by Hussein bin Umayyad. Abdullah refused to submit, and the siege of Mecca begun. Catapults were erected to bombard the town. In the course of the siege the Kaaba caught fire and was badly damaged. Before the siege could be brought to successful end, the news of Yazid's death reached in November 683. The Syrian army returned home, leaving Abdullah in control of Mecca. After the death of Yazid, the Umayyad authority collapsed everywhere. Abdullah ibn Zubayr was able to extend his authority over most of the Arab lands. He appointed his brother Musab bin al-Zubayr as governor of Iraq. Unfortunately for the Zubayrid cause, Kufa had already been taken by another pretender, Mukhtar ibn Ubaydullah al-Thaqafi. He came from the Hijazi tribe of Thaqif. He was an old man, having been born about the time of the Hijra. He proclaimed that the caliphate should belong to the family of the Prophet. This cause was sure to arouse support in Kufa, where many still remembered the sad fate of Hussein. Ali ibn al-Hussein, son of Hussein, considered the fourth Imam of the 12-year Shia, living peacefully in Medina, turned him down. Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya, a son of Ali not from Fatima but a woman of the Hanafi tribe, allowed Makta to use his name as a candidate. Mukhtar declared Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya not just as caliph but as Mahdi, the first time that this title was used by a would-be leader of the community. Mukhtar based his support on non-Arab converts, the Mawali, who joined his army. It angered the noble Arabs, the Ashrafs. A brief conflict broke in the city and the nobles and their allies were driven out. The Ashrafs marched south to Basra to join the forces being assembled by Musab, Abdallah's brother. They returned to reconquer their home city of Kufa in April 687. Mukhtar was killed in the battle and his radical social experiment was crushed by the forces of conservatism. Although Mukhtar was killed, but the seed he sowed blossomed later. The Hanafiya movement that arose led ultimately to the end of the Umayyad Caliphate in 750 AD. The Zubayrid authority began to be pushed back once the hiatus in the Umayyad line was closed with the accession of Marwan bin al-Hakam to caliphate in 684. Egypt was recaptured by Marwan during his 9-month tenure. The final Umayyad victory came under the caliphate of his son Abdul Malik. He marched into Iraq in 691, defeating and killing Abdallah's governor Musab. He sent an army under the command of his most loyal and ruthless general al-Hajjaj against Abdullah in Mecca. The second siege of Mecca by al-Hajjaj led to the fall of Mecca in November 692. Abdullah, now aged about 70, fell in the final attack. Thus ended the second fitna of the Islamic history. Marwan's son Abdul Malik ruled from 685 to 705. Experience of the long years of civil war made him determined to develop a strong state structure. He discarded Muawiyah's tradition of exerting power through a network of alliances and informal agreements. He created a more autocratic top-down caliphate. He began the minting of specifically Muslim coinage, standardized the system of taxation, and the payments of the military, and the appointments of the governors to the provinces by investing them with banners. Firstly, he created something like a standing army at the service of the government, in place of the reliance on the mass of the Arabs' tribesmen which has been the characteristic of the Sufyanids. The foundation of caliph's power lay in his Syrian army, which maintained Islamic rule throughout the Muslim world. The first priority was rich and populous Iraq, which was somewhat resistant to Syrian control. Hajjaj developed a new city called Wasit between the old established garrison towns of Basra and Kufa. He ruled here as governor and the Syrian army enforced his orders. One of Abdul Malik's projects was the establishment of an Islamic coinage. He first experimented with coins with portrait image of himself called the standing caliph coins. This imagery was soon abandoned in favor of purely epigraphic coinage using only Arabic inscriptions. The new coins came in 3 main types. The most valuable was gold dinar, based on Byzantine solidus. Then there was the silver dirham based on the old Sasanian dram. Finally there were copper coins called fulus, which were minted locally in different areas to much cruder designs. The memory of these ancient coins survives in modern currencies. In the dinars of Jordan, Iraq and the Gulf states, and dirhams in Morocco. The currency was witness to caliph's authority. The right to mint coins, called the sikkars, became one of the key indicators of sovereignty in the Muslim world. The most conspicuous of Abdul Malik's achievements was in architecture. Abdul Malik built Dome of Rock in Jerusalem. With its conspicuous position and lavish decoration of marble and gold leaf mosaic, the Dome of the Rock clearly echoes Byzantine imperial style. The gold mosaic inscription which runs around the inside of the dome is the earliest monumental inscription in Arabic. In around the year 700, Abdul Malik decreed that all the government departments should use Arabic as the working language. All records should be kept in Arabic. Until this time, Greek in the West and Persian in the East were the language of the administration. The Caliphate of Abdul Malik and his son Walid first also saw the expansion and conquests of the Arab Empire. During Abdul Malik rule, all of North Africa including Tunis was conquered by 693 for good. As governor of Iraq and viceroy of the East, al-Hajjaj supervised a major wave of expansion. His protégés Muhammad ibn Qasim and Qutayba ibn Muslim were successful in subjugating northwestern India and Transoxiana. Although al-Hajjaj himself undertook no campaign, his role was essential. Not only did he select the generals who carried out these campaigns, but also prepared them very carefully, sparing no expense. The initial expansion of the Umayyad Caliphate in the Iberian Peninsula took place from 711 to 718. During the Caliphate of Walid I, Forces led by a Berber named Tariq ibn Ziyad disembarked on Iberian Peninsula on a mount that bears his name today, Gibraltar. He defeated a numerically superior army led by Visigothic king Roderick at the Battle of Guadalete in 711. Tariq was reinforced by an Arab force led by Musa ibn Nuzair, the governor of Ifriqiya, and continued northward. By 717, the combined Arab-Berber force had crossed the Pyrenees into Septimania. Thus was established the Umayyad Wilayah of Al-Andalus. The Caliphate of Abdul Malik and his son Walid I represent the high watermark of Caliphate power. The Caliph was deputy of God on earth, commander of the army, leader of the Muslims in jihad and hajj, minter of coins, chief judge and lawmaker. Abdul Malik had made elaborate arrangements for his succession. No less than 4 of his sons and 1 nephew became caliph without any opposition. The death of Walid I in 715 was followed by the short reign of Suleiman from 715 to 17. He had the reputation of luxurious living and generous expenditure. His brief reign was an abject failure. He sent a massive force to conquer the Byzantine capital Constantinople in 717. This venture was a costly and humiliating defeat. Umar II ruled from 717 to 20. He was the most enigmatic of the Umayyad caliphs. He had the reputation of being the good Umayyad, ruling according to Quran and Sunnah. He tried to break away from the factionalism which divided the Umayyad ruling class. He made appointments from different groups across the whole spectrum of the Muslim elite. He also made efforts to protect the rights of his non-Muslim subjects. He strived to solve one of the major social problems in the caliphate. It was the tax status of the Mawali converts. Had he been given enough time, there was a fair enough chance that he might have succeeded. The Abbasids might have never gained enough support against the Umayyads from Mawalis and Shia Muslims of the eastern provinces. He has earned much posthumous fame as he has often been dubbed as the 5th Rashidun Caliph. The strong authoritarian government was re-established under the last great Umayyad Caliph Hisham, who ruled from 724 to 43. On Hisham's death in 743, the Umayyad Caliphate entered a 7-year crisis of assassination and civil war from which it was unable to recover. Hisham was succeeded by his nephew Walid II. If Umar II was good Umayyad in later memory, Walid II was the bad one. He was an accomplished Arabic poet in his own right. He is said to have behaved in brazen and scandalous way. It is alleged that when he went to Hajj, he brought his singing girls with him and had the wine-drinking parties in Kaaba itself. Walid II built a series of palaces in steppe land bordering the Syrian desert. They are some of the most memorable legacies of the Umayyad Caliphate. The most distinguished of them is the building of Qasr Amra, east of Amman in the Jordanian desert. What distinguishes this complex from others is the whole lot of fresco wall paintings. These are executed with fluent, confident brushwork. The fitna truly began when Yazid III, the son of Walid I, decided to ride into Damascus on a donkey, symbolic of Messiah status. He pronounced himself caliph. Walid II was away in one of his private palaces. He fled, but Yazid III sent a force to pursue him, and they killed him within the month, in April 744. However, Yazid III reigned for only 6 months before he died in September 744. He designated his brother Ibrahim as his heir. The next key actor of the Third Fitna was Marwan II. He was the grandson of Marwan I and the governor of Mesopotamia. He decided to enter the civil war in the name of restoring Walid II's sons who were imprisoned in Damascus. By 744 Marwan II consolidated his position and it seemed that fitna has ended. But the seed sown by Mukhtar's proto-shia revolt earlier during the second fitna bore fruit. It was under Mukhtar that non-Arab converts to Islam, primarily Iranians, were politically and militarily active in a mass social movement representing their political ambitions. As we have seen earlier, Mukhtar declared Muhammad al-Hanafiya as the Imam and Mahdi. Hanafiya died in 700. The Hashemiyya movement gained strength in early 700s among the supporters of Ali. They believed that Ali's position as the Imam devolved to Muhammad al-Hanafiya, his son, and then to his grandson Abu Hashim. Abu Hashim transformed this group into a secret missionary organization that spread his beliefs throughout Iraq and Iran. His followers became experts at disseminating propaganda and worked to organize an uprising that would eventually overthrow the Umayyads, decades after Abu Hashim's death in 716. After Abu Hashim's death, the majority of sect acknowledged Muhammad ibn Ali of the Abbasid family as Imam. He was the great-grandson of Prophet's paternal uncle, al-Abbas. In the hands of Muhammad and his successor Ibrahim, the Hashemite became a political instrument. It stirred anti-Umayyad sentiments among Shias and non-Arab converts to Islam in the Khorasan region. It was under the leadership of Abu Muslim that the movement gathered great success from about 745. Abu Muslim was a freedman or Mawla of the Abbasids. His background is hazy, but most likely he was of Iranian origin. In 747 he openly declared the revolution and publicly raised the black banners that came to characterize the revolution and the Abbasid regime. He took control of the city of Marv and gradually whole of Khorasan, and finally Kufa in 749. Upon entering Kufa, Abu Muslim had his agents proclaim Abu al-Abbas as caliph. He took the regnal title of al-Safa, the bloodspiller. The last Umayyad caliph, Marwan II, was defeated at the Battle of the Zab River in 750. The Umayyads were unable to muster another army after this battle. Marwan II fled but was caught by the pursuing Abbasid forces in Egypt that same year. It marked the end of the Umayyad dynasty.